Hi everybody. Put a comment in the comments if you are here with me right now. So we're going to be painting the succulent today. I am using Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor paper, 5x7 size. So I've moved my camera down in. Hi Diane. Hi Heather. So I bought this on Amazon, so I thought it'd be fun to use for these sessions. Nice and small, and as you can see, I've got a mat around this piece that I created yesterday for today's class. Okay, so we'll get started here. So I've got one drawn out here. And today I'm going to be using 3 brushes today. My number 6, my number 3, and my number 1. I always mix with my 6, so we're going to start with that. So I get my brush wet. I go into my yellow here. We're going to need a fair bit of green today. Oh, hi Deb. Hi Leslie. So I always start mixing with the lighter color. So yellow is quite a weak color. So I'm going to have 2 wells of yellow, and then I'm going to add some blue to them. So I want a fair bit in my second well. I'm going to add a couple of drops of water. I like to use this little dropper that I got at the dollar store. You can use a sprayer. You can use a pipette, as we talked about in class, and that Deb nicely brought for us. But I like to use the dropper. Okay, so when I go into a new color, I rinse my brush. I always like to mix with my 6. And I'm going to go into cobalt here and add cobalt to this well here until I get a green that I like. And it can be hard to tell exactly what green you have, so I like to use test sheets. Which I forgot to get out today. I got a whole bag of test sheets here. Okay. So I've got a little test sheet here. And that's a little on the yellowy side. So I'm going to add some more, a little bit more cobalt to that. Yeah, I like that color better. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush again, and this time I'm going to go into my dark blue. It's a little bit off screen here, but this is my French ultramarine blue. You might have a Prussian blue. And I'm going to mix that in the top yellow here. It'll give me a darker green. Like that. Okay, so far I have a light green and a dark green. Then I'm going to make a bit of a well of red. We don't need a lot of red and a lot of blue, but this is my alizarin crimson. I'm just going to add a drop of water. and a little bit of cobalt blue and this well down here. And a little drop of water to that. Okay, so my number 6 comes to a nice point, so I'm going to use it most of the time today. I switched up where my palette is and where my painting is today just because I'm right-handed, and I found with my palette on this side my hand was getting into the palette. Just with this tight camera angle, it's easier to have my palette on the other side. So my number 3 and my number 1, and you don't have to use a number 3 and number 1, you could use 2 number 1s or whatever you have. I'm just going to have red on, a bit of red on my number 3 brush. And I have this handy dandy tool. It's just a piece of baseboard notched out that's going to rest my colors in the sidelines. So I'm going to have red on that one. I'm going to have blue on my number 1 brush and rest that over at the side. Okay. I'm also going to have my paper towel nearby so that I can make sure my brush is clean. It's got a little bit of red on it right now. Still a little bit of red. That red just wants to stick around. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the middle, the very center, with just the dark color. Just like that. And then I'm going to go into my lighter color, and each time I paint a leaf farther out, I'm going to leave a space between one leaf and the other. So in this case, I'm painting close to but not touching the space, the shape I just painted. And another saying that I have is, while it's wet I can play, when it's dry I go away. So one of the things I'm going to play with this shape is, with the red on this brush, I'm going to paint the tip. It's a skinny brush, so it's easier to paint the edge of it. I'm also going to add a little bit of my darker green into this shape, because near the center things are a little bit darker, kind of get lighter as they go out. And because it's paper, I can just move this around. So I'm going to get, once again, I'm going to paint close to the other shape but not touch the other shape. I mean, if you do touch the other shape once in a while, that's okay. But keeping it separate means they won't run into each other. So again, with this shape, I'm going to paint some red on the edge here. And I'm going to add a little bit of the darker green there. Okay. light. So you don't want too much paint on your brush, and that's what I have right now. If it's kind of pooling up a fair bit, then it won't work as well. Or if it's too dry, there's kind of a happy medium in there that I try to find. So has anybody been painting this week? Add some red to that. Okay. So now I'm going to go the next round here. So again, I'm going to leave a little bit of a space between what I have done and this leaf here. Feel free to post any of the paintings that you do on the Art Lessons with Laurel site. It's always fun to see what you guys are up to. Okay, so I'm gonna, these leaves get larger as you go out, and I'm gonna start adding some dots of blue to this. So I just kind of, that didn't really show up. I just kind of drop in some blue. And we'll see, I'm going to move that around a bit. You can play with it while it's wet. When it's dry, you don't play with it anymore. Okay. So here again, I'm staying away from the other shapes, getting up close, but leaving a little bit of space. That way it won't bleed into the other one. Every now and again, I dip into my darker green as well. Don't want all the petals to look the same. Don't want it to be too perfect. So I'm going to grab my red, bring some red to the tip here, grab my blue, bring some blue in here. And that blue will spread out. You'll see it won't look like 3 perfect circles there. It's a good idea to mix a lot of this light green, because if you run out, you'll have to mix some more. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's exact, but it's speedier and helpful if you have a lot mixed up. And if you don't like to use your number 6 for these small details, or if your number 6 doesn't come to a point very well, then you know, switch to a different brush, maybe a number 3. I'm going to add some darks in here, and then I'm going to add my red tip. as you use your red, your red brush, it can get dirty. So every once in a while, I'll clean it off and go in and get fresh. And I'll add some touches of blue in here. Maybe just one, or maybe over here. Okay. Heather, I'm glad you got your watercolors in time for today. It was my sister's birthday recently, and I set up a palette for her and sent it off with a couple of brushes. So I'm glad they arrived quickly. Actually, I find Canada Post to be so reliable lately. I don't know what you guys have experienced, but certainly the present didn't arrive in time for my sister that I ordered online, but at least Canada Post was reliable. There's something about succulents. I really enjoy painting them. Now that area is drying already, so I'm going to go in with some fresh green over top. If you're in a dry room, things evaporate pretty quickly. So how you guys surviving through this COVID time? I'm still ordering groceries online. I haven't ventured into a store in a while. So I'm curious how you, if any, who's going into the store, how you're finding it. Okay, so I'm going to add some red here to the end. So this paper isn't as good as Arches, but it's pretty good quality actually. So I'm going to add a dot of blue. So you don't want to add your dots of blue to the exact same spot. I can't imagine having to wear a mask and a shield all day long like the health care workers have to do. I just can't imagine it. After 10 minutes, I mean they're inside, but after 10 minutes outside I was like, oh my god, this is so hot. So I'm going to add some darks to this. And I'm going to add my red. This is drying pretty quick. So you want it to be wet when you add your red because it'll bleed into the other paint, which is quite nice. I'm finally working on my supplies video that I'm going to put up on YouTube. So one of the nice things about being forced to be at home most of the time is I'm working on projects that I always wanted to do but never seemed to have time to do. And that's definitely one of them, which is also helping me. I'm learning Premiere, which is something else to add to my resume. It's nice to have my son to help me with the new stuff I am learning, so that's good. I know a lot of the universities aren't opening up. So you have to paint very quickly so that you don't get any hard edges except for at the edge of each petal where you want a hard edge. That's the only hard edge you want. I'm going to put some drops of blue in here. Well, that's what I can still play around. I want to bring this edge up a little bit closer to that other line. While it's wet, I can play. When it's dry, I go away. It is a little bit harder with this number 6 brush, so maybe you want to use a smaller brush. And if you're finding it hard to keep the space in between, then you do have another option. You can do every other petals that aren't touching, and let them dry. And then you can go right beside them as opposed to close to them. So I'm painting up close to the other shapes, but not touching them. This can take practice as well. If you're having a hard time getting close, it's something that takes practice. There we are, and add my red edges. Red edge here. And add my touches of blue. Paint some more sections. I'm wondering if, how am I blending the blue? I'm just putting the blue on while the green's still wet, and it's doing the blending all on its own. So Diane, if you have more of the Arches paper, you might want to cut them up into smaller pieces and work on those for next time. Okay, so that's that. Put my dots of blue in, and they'll just blend all on their own. And draw on my red. Having paint on different brushes, it's just a lot faster. Because I don't have to clean the brush, pick up that color, I can just add that color straight away. That one's not blending very much. Things are drying quickly, so I'm just going to add touches of green right around that red to help it blend some more. So there. So again, I'm working around the other shapes. The last painting I made didn't have enough contrast, so that's why I added the black pen. I like that look. The only trouble with outlining in black pen is you have to do a really good job. You have to be very precise. So if you can get away without using it, then you're better off. Or practice a lot and get good at it. Okay, where am I going here? This. Getting near the end of this. Okay, mine are looking a little blotchy themselves right now, Diane. And I think that's because with my overhead light, I'm getting warm, and I think my paper is getting warm too. So I'm just going to go over top the whole shape. It's just drying too quickly. Maybe that's what's happening on your end. So there, that looks better. It was a little, so maybe that's all that was happening with you. Add a drop of water. Evaporation does take hold. And every once in a while you have to add a bit of water because your paint will dry out. I had my red, and then I had my blue. And clean up my edges a little bit. Yeah, I bet you that's what's happening with you, Diane. I think it's just a little too dry. It's not, the blue isn't traveling very much. So the black I used on the other painting is one of my, here it is, my Micron pens. I used my 03. This is archival ink, which is something good to look for, and it's a really good pen. I have different widths, skinnier widths and wider widths, but the 03 is a nice size. And they sell those at Michael's, Desserts, any art store. I also sign with that, so it's a good all-around pen to have. So there's my touches of blue and the red tip here. Oops, daisy. That's dried out. I'm going to grab some more blue here. Okay, well, I think I'm going to end it there for today. And thank you so much for joining me. And I'll post the end result at the end. And I'd love to see your succulent as well. So see you next time. Bye.